everybody, I'm Maria.
I'm Max.
And we are confused
and excited
about our 2023 recap of our building project.
Yeah, what a crazy year, man.
So, January. We had marked about almost 3 years since moving into our current house.
Yeah, and we've really enjoyed it, but we decided it was time to kind of trim down and find exactly what we wanted that's easier to maintain and like more kind of aligned with our
values.
Simple spirits.
Correct.
Tunajenga nyumba ya kuku.
Yay. Getting our chickens, getting fresh eggs, and this whole project inspired us to become more eco-friendly and self-sustaining.
So at first they were very afraid of us, but now they're still afraid of us, but they're our friends. This one, they're very fat and healthy. This one has been plucked by her friends, but she's my favorite.
February, one big thing was that we dug our borehole.
Yeah,
and
made a huge difference.
And we started to see that we can change our living experience.
Yeah, you'll probably notice from our earlier videos, it was so sort of dry and barren, and that's really transformed this place. So that's something we're going to carry forward with us.
So March comes around, and by this time we started to coalesce on the idea of building a house of our own.
One thing to understand is here March is hot. March is the hottest.
We were dying.
point. And we were like, and we were sort of spending so much time just going to restaurants and being by the beach. We're like, we should really take advantage of the fact that we're so close to the water.
By April, we'd actually started to maybe think, because of the heat, like, should we be in Malindi? And we actually started considering other parts of Kenya. We wanted to look at places like Limuru, the outskirts of Nairobi, and Thika. How did that go?
Well, I got so sad when we arrived in Limuru, and I was like, oh man, Malindi has really just become home. And also, we both had so much sinus issues and just health problems from it being cold and damp. It was a harsh reminder of how hot weather creatures we are, and just physically not set up for that.
Yeah. So in May, we officially started our land search. We looked up several properties and started to arrange site visits.
Yeah.
Hey, that was a process.
We drove all over this area, and there were many sort of similar options, but there was a lot of a lot of potential things. You have to really know what you're buying. You have to do your due diligence.
Yeah. One thing we quickly realized is that going to the site was a waste of time if it wasn't exactly what we specified. So we wised up pretty quickly. Like the agent couldn't send us a copy of the title deed. No site visit.
Yeah. If the agent had a copy of the title deed but wasn't the person in possession of the copy of the title deed, if the title deed didn't check out with its due diligence, if there was any dispute about the title deed, whether it was contested, because a lot of the title deeds here were only issued to the actual residents, the people who lived on this land for ages and ages, were only issued by the government a couple of years ago. So you had to be really careful that you weren't getting a title from someone who had been squatting on someone else's land, and that has been happening up and down the coast in certain news stories that we've read, allegedly. So.
So that was a very arduous process, and if you want us to make a video more about the land search and land buying process, please let us know.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
In June, we finally found our dream property.
Yeah, we really looked out, and it was after a lot of work and
it was after a lot of work and
searching.
It fit all our criteria, so we started the closing process. So in July and August, we actually did some traveling outside of the country. So it gave us time for the lawyer to complete the land closing and transfer process.
It was my first time going back to the U.S. since we got here. Yeah, it was really good to see family and friends, and it was interesting. It's funny to have culture shock going back to the place you were born and grew up, but it's also kind of a cool experience. So.
I think that kind of refreshed us and renewed us and made us even more excited to come back and actually
Yeah.
start our project.
I missed my day-to-day routine here so much.
Yeah.
Like, I kept thinking about, like, if we were in Malindi now, we'd be going to our normal shops, seeing our normal people that we see here. And I was like, oh, yeah, it really has become home.
It did. And one interesting thing is that kind of seeing different places helped us work through a lot of ideas in our head about the spaces that we wanted to build.
Yeah.
Because I remember we got some inspiration from different places.
Yeah.
So we come to August, we're still traveling, but by the end of August, we came back to Kenya and formally closed the buying process, and the land was officially ours. Cool. That was amazing.
That was a good feeling.
Yeah. In September, we embarked on the official planning process, engaging an architectural firm, along with our structural engineer, and we really kind of hammered down the plans for what our house we actually wanted it to look like. I should note that during all this, way back in January, Max actually started to design our house.
Oh, yeah.
So the heart and the design of the house is actually Max. It really is. But we engaged some experts to make sure that we were doing the right thing, and they helped us kind of convey.
I just need you to tell me honestly if it will fall into the ocean, because I've never done this before. And he was really good, and our whole team was really good about, like, helping us make sure that it was practical. And
so we were still riding our high of having closed on the land and, like, drawing these beautiful pictures, but October was kind of a down month for us. I think we kind of just got a little bit stuck, especially the financial projections we were getting from various experts were putting this kind of way out of our budget.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time trying to parse out what was necessary to create a good, living space, and what things were frills, what things were kind of just either being upsold or just kind of being suggested to us because that's conventionally the way beach houses are built. But because we're very minimalistic, we're very, like, eco-friendly, we're very just sort of, like, introverted and in our own space.
And it took us a long time to realize that.
Yeah.
We were like, why are we starting to get sad about this project?
Yeah.
Why is thinking about this project causing us headaches?
Oy.
Why, when you see an email from the quantity surveyor, you just get sad?
Yeah.
We realized that we're not following our hearts and values. And I think that was the big decision point and turning point for us.
So, what did we do?
November came around, and it was 2 months to the end of the year, and we had not started.
Yes, and some of that time was necessary to make sure we were doing our diligence, but some of it was just overwhelmed.
Big overwhelm.
Yeah. So what did we do? What happened?
Just somehow on one of these walks that we take with Flower, we were just like, babe, it's you and me.
Yeah.
At the core of this, and we just need to start. Just pick something, start. We have conflicting advice from the different experts, but just start. So the big project we started with, we just cleared the road.
We were fighting with this land that was so wild and so natural.
And hospitable.
And that's part of the appeal and the beauty of it. But to get it to a point where you could see from one end of the plot to the other, you could actually walk it without sort of sliding down a sandy hill. We started to make it feel concrete.
Yeah,
But what made it feel even more concrete was the concrete.
The second project that was kind of our next step into feeling confident was moving the mountain.
Yeah, literally.
So one of the other difficulties about feeling overwhelmed was that there's kind of the book way or the big commercial way to do something. So for example, we kind of were thinking about an excavator, and we're really worrying about the cost and whether we needed to call this and that person to do it.
Yeah.
But one day we just hired a team of 20 people with shovels.
Yeah.
And over 5 days, they moved the mountain. They leveled the building site, which is the back third of the property.
And it was interesting because kind of as we were doing that, our neighbor pointed out actually an excavator probably wouldn't have made it up the hill as it was, so it would have even created more logistical
complications. And I think that was a big turnaround for me. It felt like we would come to the answer by the end of it, and I think we learned a lot of lessons that helped us plan for December. So in December is when things just started really moving. So our big projects. What are our major projects we're aiming to finish?
So we built the addition, or the tiny house that's attached. That's kind of the guest house. And the parking structure, and we also started working on a retaining wall to keep the sand from shooting out from underneath us.
And then we also started fencing around their property. This was kind of a test of our mettle, and we're so happy with the progress that we've made.
The learning curve with a project like this is really steep if it's your first time doing it, but it was sort of the act of kind of constantly re-straddling the gap between being underprepared and then overthinking.
Yes. Kind of, say it again for the people in the back.
The being underprepared, like we don't want to build something that's not going to be good, but the overthinking and having to just sort of be constantly disentangling those two and figuring out, is this something we need, or is this something we want, or is this something a status quo kind of tells or assumes that we might want, and includes it in the bill of quantities. Coolest part of it for me so far is we've made some awesome friends, and we've deepened some friendships just from co-creating this massive puzzle with a bunch of different people with different expertise, different backgrounds, different approaches.
And I'll also add, just because we are thinkers. For me, the coolest thing was just getting our hands dirty and getting away from the computers and the planning. Seeing the land respond was amazing.
Yeah, poor baby.
Okay.
She's had a big day.
Come. Thank you so much, and we hope. Thank you so much, and we hope you'll join us. Thank you so much. I hope you'll join us on this journey ahead. Please make sure you subscribe.